At precisely 6:15 a.m., the soft chime of the alarm clock broke the silence of a spotless, cream-white room. Everything was in its place. Everything, as always, under control. Evelyn sat up slowly, her long, silky hair slipping over her shoulders like water. In the hush of early morning, her fingers traced each strand, as if reminding herself who she still was. Outside, the world stirred to life. Inside, something quieter unraveled. What happens when the smallest crack appears in a carefully constructed life? When the one thing you thought you controlled suddenly slips from your grasp. Stay with this story, because sometimes it's not life that betrays you. It's the mirror staring back. 6:15 a.m. The soft chime of the alarm clock filled the creamy white room, every corner tidy, pristine, nothing out of place. Evelyn sat up, her long, silky black hair cascading over her shoulders, lazily clinging to her silk nightgown. In the hazy moment between breaths, she instinctively ran her fingers from the roots to the ends of her hair. 17 years. 17 years without changing the style. Every precise trim, every meticulous conditioning session her hair was the singular emblem of what Evelyn believed about herself. Poised, feminine, controlled, never careless. She stepped out of bed, her slender frame casting a shadow on the glossy tiled floor. Early morning light filtered through thin linen curtains, glinting off the bottle of hair serum neatly placed on her vanity. Evelyn lived by unbreakable routines. Like her 12 years designing high-end interiors. Like her breakfast of rye toast and boiled eggs, always the same. Like tying her hair up when she left the house, letting it down when she returned. Her reflection in the mirror wasn't striking, not particularly youthful. But her skin remained smooth, thanks to a minimalist, consistent skincare routine. She didn't care for makeup or flashy colors. The only thing that grounded her was her long, sleek hair, the result of patience, discipline, and a quiet, stubborn femininity. It made Evelyn feel she still held elegance amid the chaos and noise of her life at 39. Her husband, Daniel, hadn't noticed her hair in years. He barely noticed anything about her anymore. Their conversations had dwindled. His glances grew indifferent. The small gestures of their early marriage had faded until Evelyn sometimes wondered if they were still a couple or just two strangers coexisting for their daughter. Emma, 14 and growing distant, called her mother's hair old-fashioned, said her friends found it dated, said Evelyn was out of touch. Evelyn stayed silent. She knew she no longer fit into the world her daughter inhabited. Lately, Evelyn had begun to notice something more frightening than aging. The sense that she was fading, becoming invisible in her own life. Younger, sharper, faster colleagues were overtaking her in new projects. Partnership offers were quietly shifting to others. People looked at her with polite but distant eyes. Evelyn's fine, but a bit outdated. She no longer got angry or hurt, but one rainy afternoon, brushing her hair in front of the mirror, she sighed. Perhaps the only thing she still controlled was her hair. It was still long, still thick, still jet black as it was at 25. It was her silent pride, the one thing she'd held onto. No one else cared, but for Evelyn, as long as her hair was there, she was still herself, the polished, steadfast woman who wouldn't let life knock her off balance. Tomorrow, she had an important meeting with Japanese clients known for their perfectionism, valuing a polished appearance. Evelyn had planned it a week ago. Trim the ends neatly, condition it to a glossy shine. With perfect hair, she'd walk into that meeting with her usual confidence. She carefully opened her phone to book an appointment at her trusted salon, Lilia's hair studio, where she'd gone for a decade. But the reply was cold. We're temporarily closed due to a system issue. Something sank in Evelyn's chest. A small thing, nothing that should bother anyone. But to her, it felt like a gentle push toward the edge of a cliff. No one else would notice, but she knew. Her hair was her final boundary of control. If she couldn't manage even that, what else mattered? She turned to the internet. In a rush, near the office, most convenient. downtown studio popped up with bright, modern salon images and youthful staff. Evelyn hesitated, but had no other choice. She skimmed the services. Short precision cut sounded simple, just a neat trim of the ends. Like always. She booked the appointment, paid the deposit. A faint whisper echoed in her mind. No time to hesitate. That noon, Evelyn left the office, her hand brushing her long hair one last time before stepping into the new salon. A flicker of unease lingered. No one likes walking into unfamiliar territory, especially when entrusting their quietest source of pride, nurtured for over a decade. But Evelyn didn't realize. Sometimes, a single rushed step can pull you from the orbit of your familiar life forever. Loss of control, loss of dignity. The sharp hum of the clippers sliced through the air again, grazing the nape of her neck. A swath of long, glossy black hair slid down her shoulder, landing silently on the deep green cappy, a cruel reminder of her misstep. Wait, no, stop. Evelyn shot up in panic, her voice breaking in the brightly lit room as the young stylist froze, clippers still in hand. But the worst had already happened. The mirror in front of her reflected a bare strip of scalp stretching from her nape to the crown, framed by untouched locks on either side, a cruel, mocking parody. Evelyn gripped the chair's armrests, her mind reeling. I didn't ask for this. I just wanted a trim. Her voice trembled, on the verge of tears. The stylist paled. Oh my God. Evelyn S. Buzzcut? I thought. Sanders. Evelyn Sanders. I booked a trim, not a shaved head. And the young woman fumbled with the computer, checking the schedule. Two Evelyns, one booked for a charity buzz cut, the other for a trim. A stupid mistake. A wrong click. A shared name. A head of hair beyond saving. Evelyn felt the world's noise vanish. Only her ragged breaths and the hot sting of tears remained. You can't leave it like this. I have to clean it up. You can't go out looking like that, the stylist stammered. No, I don't want to be bald, Evelyn sobbed. But look. The stylist pointed at the mirror. There's no other choice. Before her, the hair she'd nurtured for 17 years was a half-finished joke. One side long, one side shaved, patchy and pitiful. No pins or scarf could hide it. She had no choice but to swallow her tears and nod. At least clean was better than mangled. The clippers buzzed again. The last sleek strands fell like dead leaves. Evelyn squeezed her eyes shut, hands gripping the chair, tears streaming down her cheeks, soaking the cape. Almost done, I'll be careful, don't worry. The stylist's words sounded like self-soothing. But Evelyn knew what was lost today wasn't just hair. It was her pride, her image, the only shield she'd clung to through years of being a wife, a mother, a woman who never allowed herself to be messy. That afternoon, Evelyn left the salon, a thin scarf wrapped tightly around her head, clutching her purse as if it could hide her shame. She had to return to the office. The critical meeting with the Japanese clients left no room for absence. Evelyn adjusted her blouse, trying to appear composed as she crossed the lobby, but eyes followed her. God, is she sick? What happened to her hair? Whispers drifted from behind laptop screens, from the coffee counter, from pitying or averted glances. The meeting began. The Japanese clients, polite but visibly unsettled, glanced at her scarf-covered head. A different woman from before. They murmured to her manager in Japanese. Evelyn didn't understand, but she knew what they were saying. Is Miss Sanders unwell? Perhaps another time. Her director forced a smile. After the brief meeting, he gently pulled her aside. Maybe. Take a few weeks off. Get yourself together, you. Don't look well. Not well. Of course. What was left of her to be well? That evening, as Evelyn stepped through her front door, Daniel's gaze raked her from head to toe, his irritation unmasked. What's this now? Another stunt? You're almost 40, for God's sake. Evelyn didn't respond. She silently removed her scarf, revealing her bare, irritated scalp. Danielle smirked. You're doing or someone else's, trying a new look? It doesn't suit you, looks awful. Emma emerged from her room and froze. Mom. Oh my God, what did you do? Everyone at school knows you're my mom. This is so embarrassing. Her words stabbed Evelyn's heart. She had no one left. No one understood. No one protected. No one cared. That night, Evelyn curled up in her bedroom. Her hand grazed her bald scalp, inch by inch. Cold, rough, foreign. Everything she'd thought would last her image, her strength had crumbled with the hair scattered on the salon floor. Society's discard, family's disdain. I have nothing left. The words echoed in the cold bathroom, ringing in her ears like a final curse sealing every door of hope. Evelyn sat motionless on the tiled floor, forehead pressed to her knees, her small shoulders trembling with silent sobs. Her reflection, bald and pale in the fogged mirror, was a ghostly shadow discarded by society. Outside, the world churned on, indifferent to her. But in the days that followed, Evelyn realized it was draining her faster than she'd imagined. The next morning, stepping into the office, she felt the shift in the air. Colleagues who once admired her polish and professionalism now averted their eyes. Whispers trailed her, furtive glances darted her way. She must be sick. Shaving her head like that, probably cancer. Or maybe she's lost it. Stress can make people snap. Rumors spread like wildfire. No one knew the truth, but everyone spun their own grim tale. Evelyn stayed silent. She was too exhausted to explain. Her work dwindled. New projects, new proposals all reassigned to others. Meetings no longer included her name. Her boss spoke gently, politely. Evelyn, you should take some time to rest. But she knew. This was the start of a quiet erasure. The day she went from a successful woman to a shadow in the office, she understood. Society has no patience for those who lose their appearance. No one lingers for the weak, the different. Home was even more painful. Daniel's gaze pierced through her. He didn't hold back. Why don't you just quit? Stay home, be a housewife. Who's going to work with you looking like that? His words slapped her, but Evelyn only smiled a cold, resigned smile. Emma, her teenage daughter, grew more distant. No more mother-daughter walks, no more mom-and-me photos on social media. Evelyn discovered Emma had deleted every picture of them together, erasing any trace of her bald mother from her online world. I don't want my friends to know who my mom is. They'll laugh at me. Evelyn didn't blame her. She understood. A hairless, aging, hollow-eyed woman was only an embarrassment to a girl stepping into a judgmental world. She had been a mother, a wife, a model colleague. Now she was a rejected shadow, voiceless, role-less. The breaking point came at Daniel's family gathering. Her mother-in-law, always sharp-tongued, scanned Evelyn from head to toe with a critical eye. A woman without hair, without beauty, loses all her blessings. A man will tire of her sooner or later. Soft laughter rippled from a few cousins across the dinner table. Evelyn sat there, her smile fading, her eyes empty. She had no energy left to react, to be angry, to defend herself. The meal ended, and the lively chatter continued, but no one bothered to include her. Evelyn quietly gathered her things and stood, her half-finished glass of wine left on the table. That night, she stepped outside, carrying only an old, frayed silk scarf in her pocket. The scarf, once used for crisp autumn mornings, now wrapped loosely around her head to hide her bare, pitiful scalp. She wandered aimlessly. She didn't know what she was searching for, only that she needed to escape that house where her husband no longer saw her as a wife. Her daughter had erased her from her world, and she no longer recognized herself in the mirror. Evelyn stopped when she realized she'd reached the small park near her neighborhood. On a familiar wooden bench, she curled up, hugging her knees like the 17-year-old girl who'd once cried here over a broken first love. But this pain wasn't love. It was rejection, isolation, a silent, brutal dismissal. Her head throbbed as cold wind slipped through the thin scarf, cutting into her weary nerves. Around her, the street lights cast a dim golden glow, illuminating her small, frail figure, head wrapped like a runaway patient. No one looked at her. No one cared. No one stopped to ask. Society had discarded her. Her family no longer needed her. Evelyn understood, more clearly than ever, that she was an empty husk, forgotten in a world rushing forward, with no place for those who fell out of step. The cold wind wove through the fragile silk scarf, wrapping around her like a reminder she was at the bottom. And from that bottom, if no one pulled her up, she no longer had the strength to climb, rising from the abyss. Evelyn sat huddled in the empty park, her bald head illuminated faintly by the street lights. The cold wind seeped through her thin silk scarf. The autumn night sky was a somber silver gray, bare trees rustling softly as if the city itself sighed. Evelyn sat there for a long time, silent. Across the lawn, a few passers-by occasionally walked by, none sparing her a glance. She tugged the edge of her scarf, her hands icy. In that moment, she realized she had no one to call, no one who would worry if she didn't come home. As the streetlights slowly shifted hues, a figure sat on the bench across from her. An older woman, her head also wrapped in a silk scarf. Her eyes were kind, her voice deliberate. "Cancer? Or did you shave it because you're done with life?" Evelyn froze. No, she wasn't sick. She wasn't ready to die either. But she no longer knew who she was. "I messed up. I lost myself over a haircut." Evelyn gave a bitter smile. The woman didn't laugh, just looked at her for a long moment. "Hair isn't your identity, how you live is." Her words were light as a breeze but struck Evelyn like a pebble rippling an old, still lake. The woman sat quietly, then stood, leaving behind a faint smile before fading into the lengthening shadows. Evelyn didn't catch her name. But perhaps, sometimes, a single sentence shared between strangers is enough. In the days that followed, Evelyn vanished from contact. She rented a small attic room in an old neighborhood where no one knew her, no one judged, no one whispered. Mornings, she sat by the window, sipping black tea, watching sparrows flit across a narrow strip of sky. Evenings, she wrote. She poured out everything: her losses, her endurance, her naive belief that her hair could shield her from the world. "If my hair's gone, what's left of me?" It turned out to be her will, her courage to walk through pain. Lessons no school taught her. When a woman loses her outer shell, what remains is how she faces herself. Evelyn joined a support group for women who'd endured emotional abuse, those scarred by damage to their appearance and self-worth. There, she learned others had fallen harder than she had. Some had shaved their heads in depression, others had marred their beauty after betrayal. They cried, they shared, they held each other. They showed Evelyn she wasn't deformed, wasn't pitiable. She was just one of countless women who'd shattered and learned to live again. One day, a group member invited her to a small women's talk. Today's theme: hair doesn't define femininity. Evelyn stood on the stage, bald, bare-faced, but her eyes brighter than ever. She told her story: the mistaken cut, the scorn, the freezing park night. When she stepped down, applause erupted. Not for her hair, but for her courage to face it, to stand tall. A young woman approached, whispering, "Thank you. I thought losing my hair meant losing everything. Now I know it doesn't." Evelyn smiled. Her new identity wasn't in her appearance. It was in the eyes that forgave herself. A photo of Evelyn on that stage, bald, in a white blouse, with a gentle smile and confident gaze, is spread online. Old colleagues saw it. Daniel saw it. Emma saw it. They realized the woman they'd discarded had stepped into the light without needing anyone's salvation. Daniel sent a short text. "Are you really okay, now?" Evelyn left it unanswered in her inbox. She didn't need to reply anymore. That afternoon, Evelyn walked through the bustling streets, head bare, unafraid of stares. Sunlight glided over her smooth scalp, a cool sensation more pleasant than she'd expected. She had no hair. But she had her dignity, her freedom, and, for the first time, herself. If you ever feel like you're sinking into a dark hole, rejected, hurt, or even invisible in your own life, remember this. Every rock bottom has an end, and every woman has the right to rise again, in her own way. Never let your hair, your appearance, or anyone's judgment define who you are. It's you, your quiet resilience, your self-worth, your belief in yourself that will help you write the next chapter of your life, not anyone else. Thank you for listening to this story. If you've ever experienced something like Evelyn, please share it with me. I truly believe every story of overcoming pain deserves to be told to remind us that we are never truly alone. Leave a comment, or simply a single, if you understand this feeling. We are here together,